We're here to talk through this smash sums by Serkan Yürekli. It's called Order and Disorder because the row clues, as you can see, are increasing from 2 to 8, while the column clues are seemingly random. So let's see how this interplays with each other. So right at the start, I see that this 2 clue intersecting with this 14, if this is a shaded cell, then what ends up happening is so this will immediately become a 2. But this 2 clue means that the 2 can never be on a border because it has to be between two shaded cells. So actually, this whole situation is wrong. So what we get is this is unshaded. That means for a 14, you can only have one unshaded outside because the total sum is 15. It's 1 to 5. So that means the one will be outside and the remaining will all be inside the two shaded cells. We can also place the 1 here. Now the next steps see us looking at this 3 and this 8. So this 3 can only go one cell or two cells. So it can either be a 3 or a 1 and a 2. And either way, you have all of these unshaded. Similarly, the 8 can only has to go two cells at least because it's 1 to 5, but it can't go more than 3 because you can't make that sum without digits repeating. So the last two cells will be unshaded. Now, because of the 0 clue, this cell will be unshaded. And now I think this is the difficult step of this puzzle where how I proceeded was to see this cell over here and what happens if it is shaded, because it leads to a lot of things. The reason my attention was drawn here is it's the intersection of two twos, and twos immediately mean that the very next cell will be a 2 on both sides and you get a shaded cell. So basically you get 3 cells the moment I say 1 is shaded. Similarly here as well, you get 3 cells the moment I say 1 is shaded. So looking at it that way, if I see that this is shaded, that immediately forces all of these. And because of this 10, what will happen is this gets shaded. But doing this means that this will be a 2 for the column clue, this cell, 2 for the column clue, but it will break the row clue, or it will be a 3 for the row clue and break the column clue. So this was a slight look ahead, but I think in smash sums, this kind of thing is regular. So using that, this is unshaded. And also now the 2 has to be between two shaded cells in this first row. So that can either be here or here. And this cell will always be shaded. That gives us this as unshaded for the 9 because you need at least 2 cells. And you need a max of 3. So just like we did with the 8, these two are unshaded. And this is shaded for the 8 now for this row. That means two things. One is this can only be 5 and 3. That's the only way you can make 8 and 2 cells in 1 to 5 set. Also, this goes at least 3 cells, again in a 1 to 5 set that is forced. And this cell now, we don't know if it's just a single cell or if it's 2 cells here, but they will sum to 5. So either this is a single 5 or these two are going to sum to 5. And that helps us with the next step because since this is shaded, we know that the 2 is on this side or this side of the shaded cell. If the 2 is here, then that means you get the cell immediately below it will become a 3. That's the only way you get a 5 outside the shaded cells. So 2 and 3. But doing that means that this is now a single cell between these two shaded cells, and it will also be a 3 to satisfy the row clue. So again, we see how this whole pattern breaks. So what that means is this can't be a 2. So you get a 2 here. And that also means we get the shaded cell here because the 2 is in between the two shaded cells. Now, this 6 column shows that at least this much will be unshaded, and we don't know whether it goes 3 cells or 2 cells, but this will always be unshaded. That means for this 7 row, since one of the shaded cells has to be here, the other one has to be here to achieve some separation for the sum to be held. And this 0 clue forces this, and we get all of these markings. Now, this 6 clue for this row forces this much. We don't know if it's 2 cells or 3 cells this side, but it forces a shaded cell for this column and a shaded cell for this column. And also for this row, the 4 row, we need 2 shaded cells and they can't be together, obviously. So they have to separate and have a 4 in between. So we get a 4 here, and also a 9 in 2 cells can only be a 4 and a 5. So we get a 4 and a 5 here. And since this 6 can either be a 2 and a 4 or a 1 and a 5. We have a 4 in both these 2 cells, so we can put a 5 and a 1. That was a lot of progress. Now, because this is unshaded, this has to be shaded for this row, and that gives us a 3 over here. And also, since this is shaded, this whole thing resolves for column 2 to get the 2 in the middle. And we have 2 shaded cells already here. That means this is a 5. And the last shaded cell goes here. So now we are down to just completing the sums and the Latin square quotient. This 7 means that these 3 cells have to be 4, 2, and 1. So we get a 2 and a 1. And that means a 3 and a 5 are outside. This 10 means that the outside clues, actually we can just look at this row. So this row, you need a 1 and a 2. So 1 here and a 2 here. Now this 10 becomes relevant because you can only have 5 outside the shaded cells. That's 2 and a 3. That resolves this. That resolves this. And completing this row, completing this column. Now, since this is 3 cells for a 6, you need a 1 and a 3 because the 2 is already there. And you need a 4 and a 5 on either side. That can only happen like this because there's a 5 here. Completing this column for 3 and 2. And then just this row. And completing this column, row, this column, and this column, and the last 2 digits. So we saw 2 pretty heavy steps, pretty involved steps at the start, looking at how this 2 interacted with this 2, and then how it interacted with this 10 as well. So this 2 clue on the border proved to be pretty powerful because we saw it interact first with the 14, then with the 2, then with the 10. So all of that helped proceed, and then I think the remainder of the puzzle was pretty straightforward. So we hope this walkthrough was helpful for you. Thanks, Serkan, for the puzzle, and thank you for watching.